This is the Bates Bobcast, our weekly podcast where we take a look at the week that was in Bates athletics. My name is Aaron Morse, and this week we're previewing the Alpine and Nordic skiing seasons. We celebrate a pair of NESCAC wins for the basketball teams and look back on a dominating dual meet victory for the swimming and diving program over Middlebury. All that and more coming up on the Bates Bobcast. After dropping a road game Tuesday at Brandeis, the men's basketball team won an 81-80 thriller at Wesleyan on Sunday in the first NESCAC game of the season for the Bobcats. The Cardinals converted a 4-point play with 11 seconds remaining to take a 1-point lead, but Bates had the answer, thanks to senior Kody Greenhalgh.
80-79. Shot clock off. Greenhalgh on the drive. All the way to the bucket, gets it to go. 2.3 seconds left. Walker for the win. No, in the Bobcats. Win it late. What a crazy game.
The women's basketball team defeated Norwich 58-41 on Wednesday behind a career-high 24 points and 7 steals from sophomore Mia Roy. Roy followed that up with 14 points in a 65-56 win over Wesleyan on Sunday to begin NESCAC play. And Mia Roy is our female Bobcat of the week.
I mean, after the break, I just realized I was like, I just want to start having fun playing again and not stress about like my shot, and that's really been helping.
So you're a sophomore now, being from Bedford, New Hampshire. What made Bates the place for you when you were looking for colleges?
I mean, I knew I wanted like a good academic school, so I was looking at a bunch of NESCACs, and then the coach actually was just, when I remember like the first time I was talking to her, she was just like, Bates is like a place where you'd have to build a program, and that just kind of like clicked. Like I was like, wow, like I really want to be a part of that. And then ever since, it's just always kind of been like at the top of my list. And then just after the overnight, I was like, okay, yeah, I really like it.
Interesting. So the chance to build the program up kind of appealed to you, it sounds like?
Yeah. I mean, there's something about like establishing, like she was a newer coach, and then like having 7 of us come in and just kind of like help like create something. It sounded really nice. So
I was going to say, this sophomore class, I mean, this is definitely a storyline, right? This is a big group, and you're making such a big impact so early in your careers. What's this dynamic like among your fellow sophomores?
We always get called like, oh, we're a young team, and like our coaches really like talked about like, yeah, like so what, like you're young, like you just like have to like learn how to mature quickly. And I think that this year like we've really like tried to step into that role. I know like a lot like on the road games last year, they weren't as strong, and this year we just realized like we need to start like picking it up and like gaining more maturity quicker, because like we are young, and I feel like we're starting to do that, so it's great.
You touched on the road games. I mean, I get to see the home games, and the home games, it seems like alumni do just such a home court advantage. What is it about playing there, you think?
Alumni magic, baby. I mean, that's what they say, but no, it's just like it's so nice to play. Small gym, like we have so many fans, which is like really great to see, and it's just like such a hype environment that like how can you not get like hyped up for that game?
Right, and the fans are right on top of the action.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. Touching on the Wesleyan game, we touched on this after the game, but kind of what were some keys to victory you thought against the Cardinals for the team? Because it was obviously a great defensive effort. We talked about that.
Yeah. Well, before the game, our coach was saying that our defensive effort and our offensive rebounds were on the higher side like of the NESCAC opponents, and so she was like, you guys need to, but Wesleyan was also really good at offensive rebounding, and so they're like we need to keep that up, and I mean that showed. And then holding them to 42 points before the last like couple minutes, it was like a good defensive effort up until then, and so I think that really helped us.
Right, at that point, kind of the game was in hand. But
I mean, wish we kept it lower, but that's okay.
In the end, a win's a win, right?
Yeah.
So, but going back to when growing up, when did you start playing basketball? How did you get into the sport?
I played like every sport growing up, and then in second grade I started playing basketball, and then I I played basketball and soccer, and then I realized I was like, okay, like I really want to focus on basketball. My dad coached me too, and that was always really hopeful. Like I always wanted to play well, and so that was kind of the start. And then just through high school, AAU, like that's just when it started.
I think I've seen you. There's other players. Maybe someone on WPI. I forget which team. Someone else from Bedford. Right?
Yeah. Our high school team, we had like a ton of good players. Like a bunch of kids went. Like I played against a bunch of kids from my high school team and my AAU team. So like a girl on St. Joe's is from my high school.
St. Joe's, right?
And WPI as well. Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've just like basketball has always been like a big value like in our high school, and so like everyone on our team played on an AAU team, and like most kids were looking to play in college. So it was just like that dynamic from the start was always really competitive. So it was good to be a part of.
And then when you got to college last year, what were some adjustments you had to make right away, or what adjustments are you still making now?
Honestly, I like in high school I always just like played, and I think the biggest adjustment was the mental piece now, where like I like never really watched film. Like I knew like players who I've played for a while, and I know like their tendencies, but I never like actually had to like study someone. And like especially last year, like I always like went under screens, and now I have to like go over them against some people. Like it's just like changing how you play to be better against your certain opponents, like I never had to do before, and that was for me probably the biggest adjustment. Bringing like energy and having like a positive impact, like even if like my shot's not falling or something, just like having that energy and bringing that energy to other people too. Like if someone else isn't shooting well, like still try to pick them up. I think like lately we've really been working on like our like team chemistry and just like huddling after every like free throw, or like if there's a mistake, like say like that's okay, like next one, like we got it. Like we just we're just working on like positivity right now and like having each other's backs.
Well, it seems like a high energy team, doesn't
it? Yeah. I mean, that's what we've been working on. So that's good. That's good that you think that.
That's something to still focus on practice. Okay.
Yeah.
Academically, what are you kind of studying here? Do you have a major yet or anything like that?
I'm actually like all over the place with that. I know I want to go into like the health field somewhere. So like I'm in between like bio and psychology right now. I might double major in those, but I just like the body and the mind. So anything to do with that.
Kind of connects to athletics a little bit, I suppose,
yeah.
right?
My dad's a personal trainer. Okay. So growing up, I've just cared about like health and nutrition a lot. So anything to do with that, I know I'm interested in.
Excellent. Well, any other thoughts on the season so far and goals in your mind for going forward?
I mean, our big team goal is to make it to February 22nd, which is NESCAC playoffs. But I think once we make it to there, then the rest will like carry on. All
right, Mia Roy, Female Bobcat of the Week. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
The swimming and diving teams outscored Middlebury by a combined 220 points Sunday in a dual meet at Tarbell Pool. On the men's side, sophomore Kyle Jorgensen won the 200-yard freestyle, leading a 1-2-3-4 Bates sweep in the event. Jorgensen also took first place in the 200-yard backstroke in what head coach Peter Casares called two of the best races we've seen put together this year. And Kyle Jorgensen is our male Bobcat of the Week.
Yeah, I wanted to take it out at a reasonable pace and then come back fast because I feel like that's the best way to get the best time. You don't want to go out too slow or else you won't have enough energy to bring it back. So I decided to just go out at a fast pace and then keep that pace. And then by the fifth lap of each of the races, I just decided felt like I had enough energy to close that last 3 laps. So I just went as fast as I could. And that's how I got first for both those events. But overall as a team, I thought both teams did very well. We just got back from we had a training trip like the last week or the third week of December in Deerfield Beach, where we had a lot of hard training. Then we had a break, and then we had a training camp before school started. So I think all that hard work we put into this meet, and we beat Middlebury by like a large margin. It was like 200 or something to 70. That was a crazy score. Yeah.
Certainly, and then this weekend, Colby and Bowdoin, right? I mean, those are obviously big rivals in every sport. But what does it mean in the swimming context, I guess, that rivalry?
So obviously Colby and Bowdoin are our biggest rivals because they're both the main schools of the CBB. I believe we have Bowdoin Friday, Colby Saturday, or vice versa. I don't remember which we have each day, but honestly, it doesn't matter. We honestly go in there to swim and beat whoever's in the water with us. We really hope to beat Colby this year. Their team has gotten pretty strong over the last few years, but our team is just as the depth of our team is just as good, and we really think we can beat them. And Bowdoin, we believe we can beat easily.
Well, I know these two teams, you already saw them in the main state meet in December, right?
Yeah.
But things have changed now, right, with the training trip and everything. That changes
Yes.
the whole dynamic, I imagine, right?
Yeah, we beat Bowdoin and Colby before that meet kind of rested their swimmers.
Mm-hmm.
We did not rest our swimmers, and we still beat them in most of their races too. So that was also very interesting, and it really shows how strong our team is as a whole.
So what's your approach this week preparing for these back-to-back meets here?
Basically, what we want to do is we want to have those strong relays. We want to make sure we do good on those relays because those get a lot of points. And individually, we want to focus on our personally, I want to focus on I'm swimming the 2 free and 5 free. So I just want to focus on keeping a strong pace throughout the race, making sure, especially for the 500, not to for each 50, not to go over 30 or 31 seconds. Try to keep it around like 30, 29, and I think that those times will help me beat the Bowdoin or Colby swimmers.
You know, it's interesting. Like swimming, I feel like obviously it takes great physical strength.
Yes.
But when you're talking about this, you have to also be mentally you have to have a great internal clock. It seems, right?
We honestly go really in depth into like the stroke count and the tempo of the stroke because that really helps at the end of the day. When we get to NESCACs, obviously we just we just go fast. We just think about you just want to go as fast as you can. But before that, we want to keep in the back of our head. We want to teach ourselves to keep in the back of our head our stroke counts and our tempo because we don't want to go flailing across the pool because that doesn't really get you anywhere. You want to make sure you catch water. You want to kick fast. You want to have good turns, good starts, good finishes.
Certainly. Well, you're a sophomore now, but take us back when you were looking for colleges. What made Bates the place for you coming up from New Jersey?
So I looked at a few colleges in my area, such as TCNJ and Gettysburg, and then I looked up here in the NESCAC schools, like here in Colby. And honestly, this was the only school that I visited that really surprised me of what it offered. And this was probably the only school I actually saw myself in. Like when I came here, I'm like, wow, I could actually be here. Like this is the kind of school for me.
What aspects of it really stood out, you thought?
The tour guide was really helpful in telling me, I think the tour, I don't remember exactly, but I think his name, but I think he was a chem major and he really thought it was a great program here. I'm planning to major in chemistry, so it was a great program, good geology program too, so I really like geology too. They also, I also really like the swimming program. I also like the atmosphere in general. And the facilities Bates offered. Also, they have good food too. I love the food.
That's right.
Yeah, and also the opportunities, especially abroad opportunities offered, and other research as well.
Excellent. So since arriving here, how has Coach Casares and the training program here helped you improve as a swimmer, maybe compared to what you were doing in high school?
So high school swimming and club swimming, which I did hand in hand in when I was back in New Jersey, was very different training from in college. I feel like the transition was a bit it wasn't hard, but it was a bit awkward because I feel like what it did in club was a bit different, but it didn't really affect how fast or slow. I mean, the college swimming definitely affected how fast I was going. I definitely got better, but I think Coach Casares does a fantastic job with the program, especially with every aspect in and out of the pool, like lifting. He writes fantastic sets, which really help me pace work, and other also helps with technique, fixing up old things too.
Well, any other thoughts on, what goals you have maybe going forward this season? Obviously, the swimming season is interesting because there's really only a few more meets until NESCACs, right?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
We have two meets. Actually, this is probably the last week of dual meets because then we have WPI, which is a few teams go to that, but it's more like a practice taper for NESCACs.
Yeah.
Basically just testing out races, be like, is this what you're going to do? Is this what you're going to score in? And then NESCACs is February. It's the third week of February, which is the 20th, I believe. Just trying to final at NESCACs in my events. Pretty much top 24. That's that's how you final, because there's A, B, and C finals. You want to be top 24. Last year, I was just really close. I was 25th for one event, 27th. I just missed it by a bit. And for the race that got 25th that wasn't even my best time. It was just, an unfortunate race where I was a bit half a second off. So, but I feel like I know what I'm doing this year. I don't think, I think for this year, I can close out my races much better than I did last year. So I think I'll be fine when it comes to NESCACs. I think I have a good chance of finaling. And then for relays, honestly, relays are my favorite part of swimming, to be honest, because I just love just having all your friends on a relay and then just going as fast as you can. It just honestly just gives you that extra boost. Your friends are behind the block cheering for you, and you just go as fast as you can. It's just really exciting, and I'm definitely gonna miss that once I stop swimming, and after senior year, obviously.
All right, well, Kyle Jorgensen, Male Bobcat of the Week. Thanks so much for joining us on the Bobcast.
Thanks
Appreciate it. 3 pool records fell on Sunday, with first-year Gabby Smart breaking the 400-yard individual medley record. The men's 200-yard freestyle relay team set a new mark as well, and the women's 200-yard medley relay of sophomore Isabel Mohammadi-Hall, first-year Abigail Gibbons, junior Caroline Apathy, and first-year Megan Strynar opened the meet by breaking the facility record in a time of 1 minute, 48.91 seconds. Well, we'll start with you, Izzy. I understand you woke up the morning of the meet with quite the fever, but you were still able to help this team set a pool record in the 200 medley. How are you able to get up and go to the meet and have such success?
Right when I woke up, I knew that no matter what, I wanted to swim and be there for the team and be with my teammates. And so I talked to coach, took some Advil, and was able to pull it out. But it was really fun to be able to swim that event.
Abigail, as a first year, how cool is it to be part of a record-breaking team like this?
It's definitely crazy to be part of this team. I didn't really think we would be able to do it in coming back from training camp and everything, but it's really cool to be part of it.
And Caroline, going over to you here, you were in Australia this fall. How tell me about that experience and what's it like now returning to competitive swimming after that time away?
It was super fun. It was an awesome experience, and I'm really happy to be back, and it's really fun swimming and meeting all the new freshmen, and it feels good to be back.
What was Australia like for you?
It was awesome. Meeting new people, and everyone's super kind over there. Nice weather, kind of pretty bad over there right now though with the fires.
Right.
Yeah, so it's kind of sad to watch and not being over there at all, but super glad I did it.
Certainly. And then I understand, Megan, that you didn't even know that the team had set a record until later. You thought they'd been disqualified? Tell me about that.
Well, it was really loud at the meet, so I heard an announcement, but I didn't hear the announcement itself, and I heard cheering, so I thought that maybe it was the other team cheering that we had been disqualified. But yeah, I found out in the warm down pool that we set the record by some other teammates, and it was really exciting to find that out.
What's it like to anchor a relay, to be the last swimmer there?
It's kind of stressful, but it's really fun if you're, I guess, ahead. It's always good to have a race going on because it's just more entertaining for the swimmer and other people to watch, but it can be stressful.
And then Izzy, we talked about how the women's team set a record. A men's relay also set a record, and then Gabby, a first year, set a record as well individually. So it's kind of early in the season, so that's a pretty good sign, isn't it?
Yeah, last year at Bates, we didn't set any pool records either, and I think one of the juniors was saying the year before that we hadn't, and so it just proves that this team is really fast right now, and we're gonna kill it at NESCACs and nationals, and it's just super exciting to be able to set these records right now.
Well, speaking of that, you got to go to nationals last year as a first year. Tell me about that experience.
It was so fun. I mean, I was only on one relay, but we went for the whole week, and just watching all of these fast swimmers and like even being able to be a part of it was just so awesome. And yeah, hopefully we'll set a great good group of girls this year too, and it'll be awesome.
Abigail, what are you hearing about the experience of NESCACs coming up? Because obviously this will be your first NESCACs.
Yeah, I hear it's a lot of fun. I'm really nervous though, just because I haven't swam against a lot of the teams that will be there. But I think we're going to compete really well, and I can't wait to compete against everyone.
Caroline, any tips that you share with some of the underclassmen about, because you've done this a few years, about conferences and NESCACs and whatnot?
I mean, it can be super overwhelming for a few days, I guess. So, it's super exciting on the first day. Everyone's cheering really loud. Everyone's in a good mood and dancing. It's never a bad time to be at NESCACs, really. If you have one bad race, it just blows over because you have the next one coming up. So, yeah.
And Megan, this weekend coming up, Colby and Bowdoin, these are rivals, as we all know, and you saw them earlier in the main state meet. What's it like going up against these two schools?
I know that we have kind of a big rivalry, and it's like we really want to take them and possibly beat both of them. I feel like we definitely can. We're a very strong team right now, and hopefully it's a good setup for NESCACs going in, and hope that the team places top 3, I think it is that we want to do. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At
NESCACs, we want to place top 3.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
But right now it'd be good to beat both of them.
Yeah. The dual meets, I mean, it's great to win them, but in the end, NESCACs, it doesn't matter. NESCACs is what it's all about, right?
Yeah, like last year we lost to Bowdoin in the dual meet, but then we beat them at main state and NESCAC. So, I mean, it really could go either way, but hopefully we'll beat them both this weekend. Yeah. Not
quite as fast as the relay you all swam, but the interview wrapping up here. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Bobcast. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Senior captain Luca Polgar was named the NESCAC Women's Squash Player of the Week after she went 3-0 over the weekend at the number 1 position for Bates. The Bobcats as a team went 2-1 over the weekend, moving their record to 5-2. Polgar's personal record is at 6-1, and Friday's win over a very tough opponent from Mount Holyoke meant the most to the Bobcats' top player.
So she happens to be one of the 3 players that I lost to last year, so it was quite an emotional match for me from the very beginning, even leading up to it. As I was preparing for the match, I had our match last year on my mind. Last year I lost to her in really close 3 games. I believe the last game was 12-10. So this year I really, really wanted to win and wanted to use the home court advantage. So I ended up preparing really well, having a really good game plan. Coach Rye was helping me with everything that he could have possibly helped me with. So I was just really happy with that win, yes.
Well, you touched on Coach Rye. I mean, he's finally gotten the chance to spend a few weeks with the team. What's he been like? What's his transition been like with him as the new head coach now?
He's been great. I don't have anything bad to say about him. He's been really doing the best job. I'm so satisfied with him as a coach. He's been helping every single person on the team. He's been putting together great practices. Even this week leading up to our Mount Holyoke match was we had to come back early for to have 2 practices a day, and that was tough, but it was really necessary. And he helps everyone with everything. So is his wife, Andy. I can't say enough good things about them.
Excellent. And the women's team in general, I noticed you being a senior captain, but I noticed the first year, Erica Parker has risen to the number 2 spot. So have you been playing her a bit in practice? And what's it like seeing some of these younger athletes already making big contributions?
Yes, I've been on court with her since the first years arrived on campus. In the fall, I've had really high hopes for her, and she hasn't been playing 2 up until this point, but I knew she had the potential to be number 2, so I'm really happy she rose up to it. I'm really excited to see what every single one of the first years do in the future. Yes.
As the captain, do you share any things that you've learned over your time at Bates? And is there anything that's kind of universal, or each individual first year you have to talk to a little bit differently, perhaps?
I'm trying to share as much as I can. Obviously, squash is an individual sport, and everyone needs individual things. But I think my responsibility is to have the team as a whole function really well, and for that I do give them advice, and then for individual things, if they come to me, I'm more than happy to help them. Yes.
Now, one interesting thing is, you play. We touched on you played the Mount Holyoke opponent there on the glass court, but sometimes you're on the showcase court and those are different court. Like the ball plays differently. It has to, right?
Yes, very, very differently. The glass court is a very, very fast court, so and not many schools have glass courts.
Right.
So that's always a little bit of an advantage for us, even though mostly everyone here and there plays on glass courts, but for us to be able to practice on that court and then have matches on that's a huge advantage that we have to use every time we play on that court. And the other courts tend to be much, much slower. They're particularly slow courts, so it's kind of tough to transition, especially when we. So this weekend we had a match against Williams and then Conn College, right?
Right.
So against Williams we played on the glass court, and against Conn College we played on the showcase court. So that was a big transition, within the same day, and that's really, really tough to do. And I know that some of us had a little bit of a rough time transitioning, but it's just something that we all have to get used to.
Well, and the glass court just almost feels like it's, everyone can see you and you can see everyone, right? I mean, it's kind of, I feel like the other courts are more like self-contained, right?
Right. And I particularly enjoy that.
Right, yeah.
Some people don't. I do enjoy that everyone, it feels like everyone's watching me. I feel like I personally perform better when I know people are watching me.
Do you have any goals kind of in your mind going forward this season, sort of? I mean, it's funny how, like, you get so many matches done and, like, you got 3 matches done in 2 days, right? And so, but you still have more ahead, right? I mean, what are some goals in your mind?
I mean, in my mind, every year the team's goal is to be in a B flight and to perform well in the B flight, and I think this team has the potential for it, obviously. And my individual goal is, and it has been every year since I'm at Bates, to be All-American.
Right.
So for me, that would mean from now on, my goal is not to lose a single match until I graduate.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, yeah, and for those who don't know, there's a couple different ways you could be an All-American. One, you could be chosen for the top flight there at individual nationals, which you have to be, the rankings have to play out in your favor.
Yes.
But the other way is to just win your way through the other division, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So the top 16 is A-team All-American.
Yeah.
And then there's 4 flights for the B team, and the winners of those 4 flights they're the B team All-Americans. So there's 20 All-Americans total every year. So if I don't get the top 16, I can get into one of those 4 flights and then win my flight and be an All-American, yes.
Do you follow the rankings very much? I mean, do you track that, or do you just focus on the team right at the moment?
No, I don't like to stress myself out about
right.
Those things, so I never really check the rankings of my opponents. Like, I never really check the rankings of other teams. I like to just show up, because it, for me, doesn't really matter who we play. I always say we have to just do our best at any given time, and it doesn't really matter who's the other person on the court next to us.
What are your thoughts on the season so far, and what it means to you to be the conference's player of the week after this past weekend?
I'm really happy that how we've been performing up until now, and I'm hoping that it's gonna be the same rewarding in the future. I'm really proud of the team. I think everyone is doing the best they can. Everyone's working hard. Everyone is. Whenever I see one of my teammates play, because we don't always get to watch each other, obviously, but whenever I get to watch someone play, I can always just,
see everyone trying hard and being there for each other, which is super, super nice to see. And being NESCAC Player of the Week this week is really special to me because I have been NESCAC Player of the Week before, but this is an especially special one for me because of the wins that I had this weekend, and yes, the Mount Holyoke win was a really, really big win for me personally. So I'm happy that I also got this award too.
Excellent. Luca Polgar, NESCAC Women's Squash Player of the Week. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
The men's squash team is 3-4 on the season after a weekend that saw them lose a couple of very close matches to MIT and Williams before ending on a high note with a victory over Connecticut College. First-year Sultan Hashmi had a couple of matches he won't soon forget. Down 2-0 to his opponent from MIT on Friday, Hashmi rallied to win 3-2. Then he pulled off the very same feat the next day against his opponent from Williams. After a 3-0 weekend, Hashmi has a personal record of 6-1 so far this season. Sultan, my goodness, you're down 2-0 against your MIT opponent. And the next day, you're down 2-0 against your Williams opponent. Both times you come back and win 3-2. That Connecticut College match must have been a bit of relief, right?
Oh, yeah.
What was it like, having to rally from 2 games down 2 days in a row?
It was tough. It was really just a change in my mindset that really helped me win those matches. Changing game plan as well. Yeah, it was brutal.
I know the players always you work together between games. Mm-hmm. Who was working with you to help you, change that mindset and make and rally?
Yeah, so it was Peter Koenigsbauer, Benny McCormish, Garen Rothenberg, and also Rye Hergers, their coach. They really helped me pull it together and get those matches.
Were there similarities between the two, or the MIT and the Williams, or were they totally different even?
They were different styles. I remember the Williams match, my opponent, he was a machine. He was getting to every ball, and I had trouble playing that style. I remember I was rushing a bit in those first 2 games. I wasn't being patient enough, and that was messing me up because I wasn't able to be as aggressive as I could have been. I just slowed down, made sure that I was able to hit a drive, and I was also pushing forward more, volleying more. I was playing a lot more aggressive.
The Williams match, were you aware how close it was kind of overall that day? I know it ended up being 5-4 in favor of them, but it was down the wire.
Yeah, I remember I saw I think it was Pete's match where he took it, and then I don't remember who, but they lost it, but it was quite close. And then from there, I just knew that this match was going to be very, very close. Yeah. Excellent.
I saw a photo. I forget it was MIT or Williams. I think it was the MIT match where you were exulting at the victory.
Yeah.
So what was that like to clinch that first one?
It was amazing. Yeah. I wasn't sure if I could take that match, but when I took it, it was one of the best feelings I've ever felt.
And you've had a really successful start to your career. You've been playing kind of in that a little bit up and down, but at the 9 position. It's nice to be in the starting lineup, but it's also nice to get some wins. What have you seen adjustments from high school to college kind of so far?
Oh, there's a lot of adjustments, actually. So the biggest thing is that there aren't really any bad players in college squash. Every single person you play, they are going to have strengths, and if you do not give your 100%, you're going to be punished for it. The other thing is that everyone in college squash is also very fit. So it's in juniors, I could really outlast a lot of my opponents, but I can't do that in college. In fact, sometimes I feel like my opponents are fitter than me. So that's another one of the biggest things.
Well, speaking of that, growing up in California in the Bay Area, how did you first get into the sport?
Yeah, so I used to play tennis, but I started at a young age, and I was playing quite competitively, so I got a little burned out. And a buddy of mine actually played squash. And I was like, hey, what the hell? Might as well give this a shot. Yeah. And I played once, and I fell in love with the sport. It was amazing. I still remember it. I still remember the racket I used. It was amazing. Does your tennis background help in a way, or did you have to kind of relearn some things? Hand-eye coordination-wise, yes. Also with volleying, I'd say it helped me a lot there, and on the forehand. But in terms of like backhand and stroke as well, because it's a different stroke. So I did have to learn some stuff, yeah.
I know squash, it's pretty big on the East Coast here in the United States, but on the West Coast, I grew up in Seattle. I'd never heard of the sport before I came out here. So how'd you find people to play against?
Yeah, so I didn't have a whole lot of juniors to play with. Luckily, one of my closest friends, he played squash, so he was one of my training partners. Yeah, so I mainly played with adults, though. That was really where my training came from. There was a bunch of pretty solid adults in San Francisco, so I played with them pretty frequently.
Nice. And so what made Bates the place for you to come to college when you're looking for different options?
Oh, the team, really. I remember I visited and I fell in love with the team. Yeah, it was great. And also the people here. Everyone's relaxed. They're not super competitive with each other. Like they want to see each other succeed, and I think that's beautiful.
And being from California, were you looking for an East Coast college where you could play squash specifically, or how did Bates kind of come on your radar, I guess, just because you were...
Actually, my coach introduced me to it.
Okay.
He said, he was like, yo, look at this school. Like, they've got some pretty decent squash, some solid academics. You should check it out. So I called up the ex-coach. I was emailing with him, visited the school. And, yeah, I fell in love with it. So, yeah,
as your first year, all of a sudden you got a new head coach, though, right? So what's that kind of transition like? I mean, obviously you never got to play for Pat, but now you're playing for a guy who played at Trinity, which must be an interesting experience, right?
Yeah, it's inspiring, yeah. We absolutely love Rye. Like, he is a great coach. He really, really knows what he's talking about. And it's great. Like, we really lucked out with getting him.
What are the challenge matches like? Is it still? I mean, you mentioned Bates you want to see each other succeed, but you also want to have a higher spot in the lineup, right? What's that like competing against your teammates?
It's tough, because like they're almost like your family, right?
Yeah.
And so like to be that aggressive and be that competitive with your family, it's tough.
Some home matches midweek. I mean, first week of class is also back from break. So how has the academic adjustment been going?
Like balancing between squash and school, that took and especially also like socially as well, meeting new friends and stuff. That took a lot of my time, but yeah, it worked out in the end.
What do you learn from maybe the seniors like Graham, for instance, from the captain and whatnot?
Oh, I've learned a lot from them. Yeah, Graham's been a great captain this year. Just really like, people don't win based on skill in college squash because everyone is about the same level. What really differentiates a winner from a loser is the attitude, like how they go on court, and what they're willing to risk to win. That's the biggest thing, and that's quite possibly the most important thing I've learned in college squash.
The track and field teams opened their respective indoor seasons Saturday when the Bobcats hosted MIT and Colby at Merrill Gym. Both teams outscored Colby while finishing runner-up to the national powerhouse Engineers. Junior captain Amanda Kaufman finished first in the 60-meter hurdles and the 200-meter dash to lead the women's team. And sophomore John Mieszczanski won the 1,000 meters and helped Bates win the 4x800 relay by over 8 seconds. Both athletes are coming off the same injury, but they're back and joining the Bobcast. Both of you are coming off stress fractures last year, and so just give us an idea of kind of the recovery process from that. Amanda, we'll start with you here.
Yeah, so recovery from a stress fracture is a really long, slow journey. It can be kind of lonely. Progress can seem very, very slow going, but it's definitely when you have to kind of make a decision and you really have to think about like why you're doing this, why you started doing this sport, and kind of just fight with everything you have to get back out there and get back on the track. I also learned a lot about my role on the team when I'm not running, so a lot of like support from the sidelines and all that good stuff. So definitely I've learned a lot from the injury, but I'm very happy to be back running and towards the end of that road to recovery.
How about you, John? Similar experience?
I think she put it pretty well. I mean, it's not like an injury where you can, take a couple of weeks off and then come back. It is definitely a long recovery, just because if you come back too early, then you can just injure it again. So you got to be very careful. And plus, I mean, it's a stress fracture. I mean, when I had it, like it's just a searing pain. You just can't really run, so you kind of have to find alternative ways to work out and stay in shape. And like she said, keep the motivation even though you're not really doing what you want to do, which is, I mean, for me, running distance events, middle distance events. So I was a lot on the bike last year, which definitely different change of pace for me. A lot of hours on the bike, but I got used to it. I started to like that and just kept going, and now it's great to be back. So
yeah, speaking of that, I mean, how satisfying was the meet this past weekend back on the track there?
Yeah, it was awesome to be back. I think that was kind of my main motive throughout the entire meet, was just to kind of be thankful for this moment, and not really put too much pressure on myself to perform as well as I know I can. So I was definitely very, very happy with the end result, though, because it was pretty good. I definitely didn't expect to be kind of at the level that I'm at now, coming back from the injury. But yeah, I was just really, really, really happy to be running again, and that definitely helped with nerves. I remember standing on the start line of hurdles. I was like, wow, it feels like I never left, and it just was like a feeling of belonging and like being back where I know I should have been. So it was awesome.
And then John anchoring that 4x800 relay to close the meet and getting the victory. That must have been nice, right?
Oh yeah, it was a great meet. I mean, first meet of the year. I mean, tracks. I mean, I run cross country as well, but definitely track is my forte and is what I love the most. I mean, it's the first meet, so we weren't really going for anything crazy, but I mean, it still was. I mean, great sign for things to come. I mean, I felt strong through. The team looked great. It was great to run with those guys. I mean, we won by a lot. It was. I mean, and honestly, we have a lot more to give. So I think I'm very excited for things to come in both respects. So
Amanda, you touched on realizing your role within the team when you couldn't run. You're one of the captains this year. What's that experience been like so far?
Yeah, so I'm very, very lucky to be a captain this year as a junior. I love this team so much, and I think having the support of all of them and all the coaches when I was going through the injury process, and basically I missed all of outdoor season, so it was a lot of just kind of support from the sidelines, support during workouts. So I'm just really, really glad to take on a little bit more of a formal role this season and really do what I can and to make this team as good as I know it can be. We have a lot of great freshmen, a lot of great energy from everyone coming back. We have a few returners from abroad, which is awesome to have everyone back now. The team kind of really feels complete, so I'm really, really excited to lead the team forward and keep us going and maybe do a little better at NESCACs this year as a team. So
well, it was great. I mean, yeah, I saw some names there on Saturday I hadn't heard for a while, like Paige Rapp, for instance, back on the team. That must be nice, right? You touched on that, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Definitely looking forward to some relays this season. We're pretty deep in the 400 mid-distance events, so I'm really, really excited to see what this team can do, and if not this year, next year. It's a really young team, which is awesome. And of course, our great upperclassmen leaders are staples too.
Yeah. John, you touched on, you run cross country, but track is more your forte. How do you kind of approach the cross country season to prepare you for the track and field season?
Well, I mean, really just, track and field, it's not exactly I would say a skill-based sport. I mean, it's
just
more
run.
It's more just, your pain tolerance, pushing through stuff. So it's kind of similar with cross country. I mean, just use it as like a training block and just, I don't really have much expectations for cross, but of course I want to do it the best I can. This year I feel like I definitely improved a lot from last year, because last year was actually my first season. I had done soccer and all throughout high school, so I was my first year doing something, going from max I did 1 mile in high school, but now in cross country it's 5 miles, so it's a big difference, big step up. But yeah, not much expectation, but just seeing what I can do, and I think this year I had a lot of good results in cross country, and I think hopefully I can carry that sort of success over into track, and I'm very excited, obviously, because track, as I said, track's my thing. It's what I love the most. I feel like I'm most competitive in it, and I just love those middle distance, short events, where I can really just go all out and have some fun.
Certainly. Well, touched on that, your background there. How did you decide you wanted to come to Bates for college, and were you always focused on, hey, I want to run track when I get to college?
Yeah, I definitely wanted to do some sort of athletics, and I had done track in high school. I loved track in high school. I love, middle distance events or whatever. It's something I love competing. So, I mean, yes, I wanted to do track in college, and definitely factored in to my decision. Additionally, I love the area around Bates. It's, I didn't really want to go to a big city or anything, but it's nice and, I guess you could say cozy up here up in Lewis and Maine. Awesome facilities, awesome people. So, yeah, it's very nice up here, and that's, ultimately why I wanted to come here in the first place.
Excellent. How has Coach Farashidyan kind of helped you develop as a runner since you've arrived here?
Fresh is great. I mean, he really, he has everything planned out. I mean, he's very methodical with his, training strategies or methods, and he's also like, he's a very understanding guy. He understands, the rigors of, running a lot. People are doing anywhere from 50 to 80 miles a week, and he understands, what that takes, and he's very understanding, but he also, pushes you, makes you, work hard. But as I said, everything's very methodical, very planned out. He's, he's got his spreadsheets and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, he's known for that, but I think it really does help, and we see the results at the end of the day with how everyone ends up doing. So.
And Amanda, I was talking with Coach Hartshorn, and she mentioned how obviously last year you were a multi-event athlete, literally like doing the multis. But this year maybe focus more on just certain events, just because you are coming off that injury. What's that like for you to know this year kind of a different approach, maybe a little bit less stressful perhaps because there's fewer events for you to worry about?
I've still only been doing not all of our workouts. Haven't exactly started to finish them, but the road to recovery goes on, and definitely towards the end. But I'm really looking forward to get more on the track this season. I don't know. I guess I liked the field events. I don't really know. I was pretty neutral to them, but I think at States last year when I ran my first ever collegiate 200, that was kind of when I realized that I loved to run too, and I realized you could do things without obstacles or have to do techniques. So I'm really excited to do more track events and more relays and get 100% healthy.
Last year, being on that distance medley relay team in indoor, they got second in the country, best finish ever. The next step up's a national title, right?
I mean, we'll see.
Yeah.
We have a really promising middle distance group, like I said. A lot of great freshmen, and I'm just so excited to see where this team goes. And of course, the goal is always to get back to nationals and see what we can put together.
Excellent. Well, John, your thoughts on the start to the year and what some goals you have in your mind going forward here?
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, this year I think ultimately I want to, number one is stay healthy. Obviously not get injured again. That would be the first goal, make it to the end of the season and keep going. But I also, I'd like to, put up some good performances in the 1,000, the mile, the 800. Those are my main events. So I think, obviously I already got the qualifier for D3 New England's, but this is kind of a reach goal, but I definitely like to, see if I could, try to, compete for a nationals bid and maybe an open event like the mile or the 800. Team wise, we have a lot. We're so deep, similar to the girls in the middle distance area, that I think we could put together a really good distance medley relay team, and we just have so many guys that are so motivated. I think that's definitely a possibility that we could send a team to nationals. It's going to be difficult, but I think it's definitely a possibility. And I'd like for it to go with a group of guys. But also, as I mentioned, I'd also like individually to compete for a bid. As I said, an event like the 800 or mile, even if that's a reach, that's still a goal I'd like to pursue.
The carnival seasons begin this weekend for the Bates Alpine and Nordic skiing teams. For the Nordic teams, senior captain Kaylin Woods headlines a group that looks to move up the rankings in the very competitive Eastern Intercollegiate Ski Association. Head coach Becky Woods enters her 26th year at the helm of the program.
I'm really excited to see what our team can do this weekend. We have a young group. We have 8 first years that came in, and they really infused a great energy to the program that we were looking for. And so I'm really excited to see where we go. We have great leadership in our captains, Kaylin Woods and Carter Ross, and they've done a great job throughout the fall and into the winter to really direct the team. So I think good things are coming.
And you touched on the first years. A lot of them competed at junior nationals, right? For those who don't know, why is that a big deal?
I think it's just a stage in terms of competition that gets you up to the next level. It's a great in between from high school skiing to collegiate skiing. It's just that next level. It's they're competing with the best juniors in the country, and the majority of our first year class competed at the Junior Nationals last year.
And then the races you do before the carnival season, like up in Canada and whatnot, what are those like?
Well, up in Canada, it's really a training camp that we do. We're trying to get a lot of time on snow, and any racing that we do is kind of a time trial based race. So really just trying to work out the kinks. We like to leave training camp with the knowledge of what we still need to work on, and we know that we have time to do that before the carnival season hits.
So for training purposes, obviously the Bates Carnival is hosted at Black Mountain, but you train at Pineland Farms because obviously it's a little bit closer. And what have those conditions been like so far?
Well, up until yesterday, the conditions were amazing, and they really have a fantastic trail system for us. We're really fortunate to be able to utilize that as our training facility. And if we have a tough couple of weeks of snow, which is what we're looking at right now, we might find ourselves traveling to Quarry Road or to the Bethel area to try to find some snow. And really, we're going to have to go where there's man-made capabilities, man-made snow. And at a last resort, and someone who's been really, really supportive of us is Lost Valley. So if worse comes to worse, we're able to scoot over there 5 minutes away and ski on the base of the mountain, maybe take one of the further trails and do some intervals up the side of that. So we're really fortunate to have that close to us and to have the support of that community, area.
And there's all sorts of ways to train for Nordic skiing. I always find that, interesting, whether it be some of your skiers obviously compete on the cross-country teams in the fall. And I know I see them skating around town when there's no snow at all, right? How does that kind of work?
Yeah, we do a host of different, kinds of training. The majority of our training is done on roller skis, like you were saying. Yeah. It looks like they're skiing, but on the roads. So 50% of our training is on roller skis, both skate and classic. And then the rest of it is filled in with on-foot training, running, hiking, and certainly, strength in the weight room and on ski ergs.
Your daughter, Kaylin Woods, now a senior. Can you believe it?
No. Don't blink, everybody. It goes quick. But, yeah, really proud of where she is right now and excited to see her through her senior year.
She's gotten to compete at nationals these past couple of seasons. What has that experience been like for you and for her, perhaps, as well?
It's really a proud moment when any one of your athletes makes it to that level, and so I've been thrilled for her to have those experiences. I think she certainly earned them, but it took a lot of hard work, and I'm really proud of her for that. And we're hoping that she can bring the next generation of skiers that are here right now up to that stage with her.
Speaking of kind of the generations of skiers at Bates, an alum is making news, right? Hallie Grossman competing in the biathlon, the World Cup in Germany for the U.S. national team. And I believe she's the second alum ever to do that. So what's this experience been like for you, seeing what she's accomplished?
Oh, my gosh. I mean, if you know Hallie, you know how hard she's worked. She was a standout athlete here and with a work ethic like no one I've ever known. And so to see her hard work and her dedication really come together and to be given the opportunity to ski on the world stage, it will bring tears to your eyes if you know her and if you've worked with her. So we can't wait to follow her. Good luck, Hals.
Excellent. And then the Harvard Carnival coming up. I understand it's a different location than it was supposed to be, right? Tell us a little bit about where you're going to be competing this weekend.
Yeah, we'll be competing at the Craftsbury Outdoor Center, basically the backup for everybody in New England, typically when we have a rough snow start, which is what we just went through over the weekend. So the races were supposed to be at the Dublin School. They worked really hard. We're thankful for all their effort to try to put the races on, but Mother Nature decided she would take charge, and so we're headed up to Craftsbury for the weekend.
I feel like of everyone who lives in New England, the skiing teams are the only ones who root for it to be tons of snow, right?
We sure do, yeah. I mean, it just is so much easier, and winter is just so much more enjoyable when it's white and bright and we can get on snow. So yes, we're cheering for snow.
Looking at the men's team, Carter Ross was a captain last year as a sophomore. We talked about how young they are. What leadership qualities does he bring to the table that makes him, fit to be the captain yet again this year as a junior?
Carter has the ability to be, a leader by example, and he's incredibly responsible. One of the things about Carter, I think, that got him in this position in the first place is that he was always the first one to help, and also he didn't even really have to ask. He just knew what needed to be done, and I think that is true in, all of the facets of, his leadership style, and the team really respects him and they look up to him a lot. So I'm excited to see, where he has the ability to bring this team.
Nordic skiing and Alpine skiing team up in the carnival, sort of, right? You add up all the points from the men's and women's teams for both Alpine and Nordic to get the final standings. What's that dynamic like? Because Alpine, obviously, I'm sure they don't get a chance to watch them very much, if at all. And so what's it like to kind of track their results also?
Yeah, I think it brings a great element to the whole weekend. We find ourselves in the vans on the way home checking the results. And, one of the things that Micaela and I have tried to do since she returned to coach is really bring the team together in different ways. When we both were on the team as skiers here at Bates, we were pretty close with our Alpine counterparts, and we really wanted to bring that back. So, I think they do understand that, it's all four disciplines that really make the weekend. And, and I think they learn from one another and really, really support one another in that front.
Are there any maybe under the radar Nordic skiers who you're looking for kind of breakout seasons this year in terms of showing a lot of potential last season, perhaps?
For people who I think had some really good months of training over the course of the summer and fall, I would like to see Tucker Pierce. I think he's going to have a little bit of a breakthrough year. He's been skiing great so far in time trials. Olivia Skilling, same thing. Tucker Barber, I think, also feels like he's got a lot more strength coming into the season. And as a runner, that's super helpful. And then we have a host of first years that I think on any given weekend, will really, they could spark things right up, So I'm really excited to see what happens as we head into the Harvard Carnival.
Head coach Micaela Holland enters her fourth year leading the Alpine skiing teams at Bates. The Bobcats will be without top returning skier Griffin Mueller this year due to injury, but Hannah West, Michael Cooper, and the rest of the Bobcats are ready to roll. Coach Holland joined the Bobcast on the phone from Sunday River to preview this season.
Micaela, I hate to start with kind of bad news, but Griffin Mueller out for the year with an injury for the women's team. That obviously impacts everyone up and down the lineup, I imagine. What are some thoughts early of, obviously Hannah West will have a big role, and Emma Fenfer is one of the captains, but how does the team adjust to losing such a talented skier like Griffin?
Yeah, tough to say. Griffin certainly is an amazing skier and one of our captains, definitely a huge presence on the team. But I just, Griffin's with us in spirit, and she's already on a road to recovery, and I'm really hopeful that this will just give the rest of the women's team a chance to step up and kind of define some of their leadership roles. We still have a captain, Emma Finfer. She's still around. Hannah West, Isabel Mohammadi-Hall. Those are other sort of more senior leaders on the team that are still present.
Certainly. Well, you touched on Emma Fenfer. Well, she missed last season due to injury, and she's coming back along with a few others, right? There's a lot of skiers who are kind of ready to go after a year away, if you will, I guess, right?
Yeah, we have Emma back. We actually were down 4 of our ladies last year with season-ending injuries, which was a huge bummer for our women's team last year. But they all worked really, really hard this summer to get strong and come back. And, all of them are skiing faster than ever. So sometimes injuries are a blessing in disguise. And we're hoping that was the case for Emma and some of our other younger athletes that were out for injuries, unfortunately, last year.
So what made Emma a great choice to be one of the captains this season? What makes her such a strong leader?
Yeah, so Emma is, she's a workhorse. She shows up every day. She gets done what she needs to get done. I think she really motivates others on the team to, kind of step it up and make the most of every day and of every training session. And we definitely missed not having her around last year. So we were really psyched when she got back on campus this fall. You could definitely notice a stronger sort of community presence on the women's team, which I think her and Griffin definitely do a really nice job at creating.
Hannah West, one of your top returnees on the women's side, ranking 21st in the giant slalom last year in the EISA and 34th in the slalom, and she's come close, right, to qualifying for nationals. What's the next step maybe for Hannah?
Yeah, Hannah's been just the first one out the last couple years, and her skiing is really fast right now. She's really, really close. I think the big thing for Hannah is to just kind of keep her mental game strong as the carnival season goes on. Our ski season's very long, but carnival season's actually just a short snapshot of the whole season.
Right.
And it's kind of the main bread and butter of our year, I guess you could say. So I think the main thing for Hannah is she's skiing really fast right now, and she's had some awesome early season results in some FIS races. So the big thing for her is to just kind of keep her mental game strong. She's a really hard worker. She shows up every day. She puts in her all. So I think just, taking every day as it comes and focusing on small victories and kind of building towards that big NCAA goal.
And then on the men's side, speaking of, NCAA goals, Michael Cooper's had quite the journey here, I think, at Bates, coming back now for a fifth season, his third year as one of the captains. Obviously missed 2018 there with an injury, but came back last year and also kind of narrowly missed out on nationals after making it in 2017. What have you seen from him, in these races before the carnival season, and what do you expect to see, throughout the January and February here?
Yeah, great question. So it's great to have Coop back. He wasn't around in the fall. He was working down in Boston. So it's really, really nice to have him back. He has only been with us for a little over a week, just because he kind of was off doing some other things during the fall, but the boys are psyched that he's back. I'm psyched that he's back. He's skiing really fast. He definitely hasn't had the same volume of training that everyone else has had, but I think moving into carnival season, he's scrambling to get every day that he can, and he, as you said, he narrowly missed it last year, and I think, in his fifth year, he kind of changed his whole life around to come back and do this. So he's got his eye on the prize and, certainly hungry for that NCAA qualification.
And then the other captain, Ryan Claremont, tell us about him, class of 2020, and what makes him, captain material, if you will.
Yeah, Ryan's an awesome kid. Ryan's been on the team here for 4 years. He shows up every day with a smile on his face. He treats everybody with kindness and respect. He brings a little bit of humor to every day that I think makes everybody, keeps things light at times. But, Claremont has been just an exemplary Bobcat since the first day that he showed up his first year. And yeah, definitely moving into this leadership role was pretty easy for him. He's a natural leader, and he was the only male captain that was on campus this fall. So he had a lot of work to do, but he did an awesome job, and our men's team overall is stronger than ever.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, Ari Van Vuren, who had a nice debut season last year, pretty balanced in the slalom and the giant slalom. He's obviously one of the guys who I imagine you're expecting to have a nice season this year. Who else do you look to see step up kind of and, score some points?
Yeah, so our boys team is really, really tight right now, both in slalom and GS. We've got, almost all of them are pretty much right in there fighting for those 6 spots. So they keep telling me that they don't wish my job upon them in choosing the carnival team. So, yeah, it's pretty exciting. I mean, we've had nine male athletes with pretty much very similar interchangeable results so far this year, meaning that they're all skiing really fast and pushing each other. And I think being a part of a team that, there's such a deep cohort of your peers all skiing fast and working hard together has really just raised the bar. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of things they can do this year. I think it's going to be a great year for both teams.
Each team has one first year. Tell us about Grace on the women's side and Crawford on the men's side.
Yeah, so we didn't graduate anyone last year. We have a small first-year class, Grace Shearwagon. She's on fire in slalom right now. Her GS is coming along nicely. And then we have Crawford Jones from Killington, and he's also skiing really fast in both events right now. He's, right in there as one of the top contenders. So I'm really looking forward to the addition of both of them. They've been both on the slopes and off the slopes, just a pleasure to have, and really psyched that they're wearing the Bobcat suit this year.
From a coaching perspective, you touched on, the two events, GS and slalom. Some skiers are better at one, some are better at others, some are more balanced. From a coaching perspective, how do you kind of balance your efforts to work with each individual on, what events, which event they need to focus on more? Because I imagine it's quite the balancing act, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is, Aaron, especially with, training, getting the time on snow in each event can also be challenging. The weather can be a really large hindrance for giant slalom training. If there's any sort of snow or precipitation, it can make training really difficult. Just really staying balanced, trying to constantly be, fighting to make sure that we're getting equal training in both events, and that, every athlete is also able to train in each event, which can be challenging because they all, we have 3 sessions a day for training, but they all can't be there every day. So just trying to find that balance is always our biggest challenge, probably. But, as a team, we put focus on both events. We certainly don't want to be a one-event team, and it takes strength in both of events to be good at carnivals. So even if an athlete is stronger in one event, we really push them to keep their training up in both events and keep their starts up in both events, because essentially at the end of the day, when I'm choosing the carnival team, it really is looking at the big picture and figuring out who's gonna be the most complete skier. And those are the top 6 that I would usually take to a carnival.
Excellent. Well, tell us about the Harvard Carnival coming up this weekend there in Waterville Valley, New Hampshire.
Yeah, Harvard Carnival. It's actually really exciting. It's Harvard's first carnival. So we changed up the schedule this year to allow other teams be a little more inclusive with hosting opportunities, which is really exciting for Harvard. Me and the ladies were actually at Waterville last weekend at a FIS race, and we had a lot of success. It was great for the ladies to get out on the hill. The whole women's team was able to come out to that race, which was awesome. The surface was, they definitely lost a little bit of snow with the rain, so we'll see how this weekend plays out. But I know the Mountain and Harvard are both really committed to putting on a good event and kicking off carnival season with a bang. So we're excited.
Next time on the Bates Bobcast, we'll recap the first weekend of 2020 that will feature every winter sports team in action. Find the complete schedule of events at gobatesbobcats.com. And tune in next week to the Bates Bobcast.